This is episode 125. Welcome to Wellness in Every Season, the podcast where we explore the rich tapestry of wellness in all of its forms. I'm your host, Autumn Carter, a certified life coach turned wellness coach, as well as a certified parenting coach dedicated to empowering others to rediscover their identity in their current season of life. My goal is to help you thrive both as an individual and as a parent. I'm very excited because I have someone that I know personally on who I have been a client of, and I love her so much that I begged her to come on the show. And of course, she said yes. I have Tamara on with me from Tamara and Company, and she did my eyeliner. A friend of mine, a really good friend, went and saw Tamara, and I loved what she did. Of course, I had to go, and she's worth the drive. It was an hour for me. But we're going to talk about that, of course. I'm excited to talk about her journey. When I first went in as a client, she sat me down and I swear I had a coaching session. It was so fun to see how much I'm going to get teary eyed, cared about me in just such a deep way. I love people like that who there wasn't surface level at all. Any of the times that I met with her is very deep and very real. She does more than just permanent eye makeup. So listen to this, even if you're like permanent eye makeup, that's not my thing because I was there for several years, but I got sick of having my eye makeup smear. And this is me, if you're on YouTube, no makeup besides what she did. And then I did my eyebrows from somebody else because I did not know about her before. And let's just dive in because you have such an amazing story. So which angle do you want to start with?
I really love sharing how I ended up here. So let's start there. First of all, thank you so much, Autumn, for having me today. And it has been a joy and a pleasure every time we've been together. It's been really special. I have that encounter with so many of my clients. That's the one thing that, as I share a little bit of the backstory, it's like the hidden blessings that I just had no idea would be part of this. I'm gonna try to give you, like, the quickest version I can, but it's really important to give the backstory, which started with a friend of mine who had permanent makeup. This was in 2016. She came over. We were both homeschooling parents, good friends. She came for coffee. The kids were playing, and she's, "By the way, I got my eyebrows microbladed." And I'm like, "What in the world is that?" I had no idea what she was talking about. So she shared it with me, and I was used to seeing her with brown makeup on. So I'm all up in her eyebrow space, checking out her brow. And I
Well,
was like,
explain what it is because when
yeah,
I
yeah.
first heard of it, I'm like, that's not waxing. I was thinking removal of hair, not
Okay.
addition.
So basically, it's this art, it's a cosmetic tattoo done in such a way that it mimics the look of eyebrow hairs in the eyebrow.
Yeah. This is mine, if you guys can see on the camera. Like, my eyebrows actually start here. I overplucked and I already had bald spots to begin with.
It looked so amazingly natural that if she hadn't told me, I would have never known. And this was like one of my closest friends. But she did wear brown makeup. So I was used to seeing eyebrows, and I didn't really notice there was a difference. But when I got up close, I was like, wow, they look like hairs. And so that's how my first, okay, this is what microblading is. But we didn't talk about eyebrows anymore that day. That was it. Little girl chat, coffee time, kids played, she left. Probably a couple of weeks later, she ended up sharing this post on her socials, her Instagram and Facebook, about a European artist that was coming to Washington, D.C. to teach this certification course. I liked her post, good friend, kept scrolling. That was that. Didn't think about it anymore. She posted it a second time. This is a few weeks later. And at the time, we have 5 children. We've been in business and masonry for 20 some years at this point in time. I was a homeschooling mom. And honestly, I saw that post the second time, and I am a giant lover of all things learning. And so in the moment, I was like, oh, that would be so cool to learn. So I respond to this post to find out about this class. But in my head, I'm just thinking I was actually being really selfish. I just wanted to do something fun for myself. I thought I'd go take this art class, right? This is me. It was 4 grand, $4,000. I'm like, forget that.
Expensive
And
art class.
because that's what I was thinking of it as. I wasn't thinking of starting a business. I truly wasn't. And my husband, bless his soul, says, "Honey, you deserve it. If you want to take that class, you go take it." And I'm like, "Mark, that's really sweet, but I'm not spending $4,000 to go take this class." Again, that was it. We didn't talk about it anymore. Rewind to about a year prior, my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 lymphoma, and he was on his second chemo cocktail that was failing, and they sent us to the Johns Hopkins Hospital. So I went with him. At his first appointment, his consult, he was told that he had a year or less to live or he would need a bone marrow transplant. And so I was tested. Our 2 oldest daughters were tested, and 2 of my cousins on my dad's side were tested. Hopkins is doing transplants, by the way, with 50% matches, and I was the only match. So I went on to be his donor. Now we're sitting in a waiting room. Mark and I have 2 days of testing to make sure that I'm healthy, right? Because I'm a match, but they got to make sure I'm a good match. After a few hours, honestly, most of the people that were coming and going, it was more like a lab. They would get a blood draw and leave. And then the next person would come in and they'd leave, and the next person would come in. But I was there for 2 days. I had a 2-day itinerary. So I would just circle back to the waiting room. And after a few hours of this, I swear I was just so moved in my spirit. I can't even really describe what happened. I knew this was something that I wanted to do, and I didn't turn to my husband and say, "Hey, let's talk about this thing." I didn't stop and pray about it. I just looked at him and said, "Mark, I'm going to go take that class. Look at all these people we could help," because I'm seeing people for hours upon hours, and people just kept coming with no brow hair, no hair on their head. I had seen this happen with my dad, but that's how it happened, and so I went and I did take the $4,000 class, but it wasn't an art class. I really took it with the intent to go and help other people. And so it was funny because after I took the course, even though I knew that's what I wanted to make a difference, like that was what was in my heart. I want to make a difference for these people. And but even still, it was funny because after being in my course for a couple of months, like one day I'm driving, running around doing some errands, and I'm thinking to myself, "Oh, you gotta find a place to work, girl." Oh, I still hadn't. So I didn't approach this as anything more than a response to a call that was on my heart. That's really it. I didn't have a plan. Autumn, no plan. I didn't have one.
Tell the rest of the story because this is just how aligned all of this is.
Sure. So I'm out one day running errands, and it pops into my head like, "Tamara, you're going to have to find a place to work." And honestly, at that point, I hadn't even considered it. I was just too busy trying to learn my skills. And so I live on a farm. I'm on a long lane. There's a farmhouse at the end of my lane, which was my neighbor's. And we drive about 3/4 of a mile to get to our house, which dead ends at the end of the lane. And so I happened to be out. Now, this was in probably November, I'm going to say, of 2016. I started my course in October. I did dad's donation in September. So, yeah, I'm a couple months after started my course. I'm running these classes. Now, in September, when I started my course, my neighbor that I just referenced in the driveway, she actually passed. She had been diagnosed with ALS maybe like a year earlier, and she had passed away in September. So I was out. This is my neighbor Dee. She had a beauty salon in Thurmont, Maryland for 40 years. And I knew her from being neighbors. And so I'm driving around and I'm saying to myself, "Goodness, I got to find a place to work. What am I going to do?" And it had popped into my head that Dee's place, that's what people would call it, Dee's place, was empty. And so I thought, oh, maybe I could talk to Mr. Jake about leasing space there. But I knew that she had only passed a couple of months prior, and that's a lot. So I just prayed about it while I was running my errands. And I thought, okay, I asked God to help me know if it was right to talk to Mr. Jake about it or not. And I just left it go. Said my prayers, did my thing, came home. I'm driving in my driveway, and who is on the front porch swing but her dad? He is sitting there at her house on the swing. And I'm like, that was some answer to prayer right there. So I stop. I go up and sit with him on the swing. We talk about other things first and just visit for a bit. And then I told him, I said, Mr. Jake, I really want to ask you something. And I've prayed about this. I hope that it does not upset you. But I told him what I was up to. And I said, I'm going to have to find a place to work. And I was wondering if you might consider leasing Dee's salon to me to use as studio space. And he looked at me and he said, I have been thinking about that and thinking about that and wondering what I was going to do with that space. He said, I would love to. And that's how that happened. So it was just one thing after the next that just fell into place because, like I said, this wasn't my idea. It truly was not. I didn't have a plan to go start a business. I didn't need anything else to do. I have 5 children. We're running another business. Like, I wasn't looking. In fact, we had just finished. We were going to foster. We had taken courses, my husband and I, and we had done our CPR certification. We had done our first aid certification. We had done loads of paperwork, right? All the things that had to be done. We had our inspection at our house. We were approved. We had just been approved to be a foster home. And
Oh, timing.
that was something that was really on my heart. And then all of this happened. And again, I can't explain it, but I just knew in that waiting room, this is what I was supposed to do. And so we actually ended up, after I got my business off the ground and realized what it was going to take to run a business, right? I'm like, there's just no way. I can't foster children with this kind of craziness going on in my world right now. So we didn't, but I forgot about that. Uh,
Wow. Ah, so much to unpack here. Okay, we might be longer than I said we were gonna be. We'll see if my kids let me.
I don't know.
Oh my goodness. So let's talk. I was just talking before we hit record about manifestation and how I'm trying to dive into that more and be more receptive to that. And you're taking it from more of a spiritual, religious lens.
Sure.
And you said that you know about manifestation. So bear with me as we go down this track. But it is interesting how much aligned for you and how different it would have been if you weren't looking for those things. Even though you weren't per se looking for where you ended up, but just
Right.
looking and seeing, I'm supposed to be led here. So I don't even know where my question is in this, but what are your thoughts on that?
I believe that when we follow our calling, this has been a divine appointment for me. We could be here a long time with more additional stories that just prove that. But I wouldn't have chosen this work. That's the thing. This wasn't something I would have picked. You can go ask my children. I have 5 of them. And with all of their tattoos that they were getting, because they're all adults, I'd be like, girls, stop getting all those tattoos. And so I was not the person that was going to be like the tattoo champion over here, right? I would have never chosen this work ever. And it has been the greatest blessing in my life. And I can't even imagine what life would be like without it. My clients, my work, every day that I do work in my studio is like a therapy session for me. It's therapeutic work and it's purposeful work. It's not because of the permanent makeup. It's not the permanent makeup that makes it purposeful. It does because there is definitely purpose in that, but it's so much deeper than that. I feel that the work that I do daily in my studio is it's truly like it's a ministry. It's a ministry because I come alongside women in ways that I would never be able to do. Like these are people I've never even met. I know things about people, right? Things people trust me with very deep thoughts and feelings and I'm able to come alongside them in more ways than just helping them feel beautiful on their skin.
It
I
felt like time stopped. I did not realize until after our first makeup session how much time had passed
Mm.
and how long it had been since I've eaten or drinking. That was on me. I
Right, I
because of Invisalign, just doing all
right.
of the things to take out my liners, clean my teeth, put them back in. Anyway, I did not realize until I'm going into the restaurant to eat and I'm shaking and like almost falling.
I
And,
remember. I
but
remember.
yes, I texted you afterwards. I'm like, I'm a mess, but it was amazing to have time slow down, have somebody so focused on me. We had a consult before, but
Yes,
still,
of
like,
course.
I still have trust issues from my childhood. It was amazing how quickly you were able to fully connect with me. It was just phenomenal for me. And I know that I am one of those where I went into this because I'm sick of having my makeup smear, but I don't want toxins in my body. So it was really nice knowing that you use non-toxic stuff. You added in colors, like you really made sure to see what do I want, and you drew out things that I didn't even fully know that I wanted.
We had so much fun.
And you were asking about my life, like, why does this matter to you? Those types of things. And I've worn waterproof makeup that's hard to get off, and I still somehow smear it's actually on this eye, under this eye, and now when I wear makeup, I still smear under there, even when I'm wearing glasses, so I know that I'm not touching my eye as much, I still must be, apparently. So, you even gave advice for my eyelashes so that I'm not wearing false eyelashes because I don't want the upkeep. I have 4 kids, there's no way. And
You're busy.
yeah, and I was also that person who my makeup artist laughed. She just does eyebrows. But when I told her that I would put it on at night. So if there were any emergencies, I at least had eyebrows on because otherwise I had no eyebrows.
Oh, it's
And since then, I have a friend who we've lost touch in some ways because we're on the other side of the country from her and is amazing for that.
right.
Having that touch, she has gone through cancer and somebody gifted her that. It's not something she ever would have thought of, but it has made such a difference for her to have eyebrows again. And I am trying to remember. She for sure did eyebrows. I think somebody else gifted her eyeliner. I don't know that for sure. But the eyebrows, it made such a huge difference because otherwise it's harder to tell expressions that you have
Sure, absolutely.
and
Yes.
just that sense of identity because she was always known for her hair. And honestly, now that it's growing out, it looks awesome. She hates it. And every time I see a photo, I am commenting how awesome it looks because it just shows this new season of life and it shows different facial features. But because of her hair being such an identity, I can imagine how impactful it was for her to have her eyebrows done.
Yes.
And there are so many people listening to this and then they could think, this isn't something that matters until you're there in that situation, and we oftentimes have things that give us that friction where it just annoys us. We're like, "Oh, I'm not worth it," or "It's not worth the time to do something about it." But then once you do, realizing, "I should have done this sooner,"
Yeah.
this is definitely where I've been, and it's been one of those things when I look in the mirror, I did something for myself,
I
and I
know.
did something for myself that's lasting, and
Yeah.
we're friends forever, so
It's a bonus, my blessing for sure. It makes me think of what I realized when I started very early on. I realized that, and I didn't really notice this before. I didn't walk around the world looking at eyebrows. That wasn't where I came from. I just didn't. And until then, when I started doing eyebrows, I was like eyebrow obsessed from the time I started my course. And so much so that I would be looking at eyebrows all the time on my phone, looking at people about in the world and talking to my poor husband. I must have talked about eyebrows so much that one time we were watching the TV, we were watching a movie. I was still training, and he goes, "Oh, that person could really use some eyebrow help." Okay, I'm obviously talking too much about eyebrows, but I think what happened then is I realized you don't have to have cancer seriously to have serious first world, I'll call them a first world problem, but it's a real challenge for women. I've seen women from my youngest client was 17, she had alopecia, she came with her mom. She would grow a brow on one side and not much at all on the other side. And my oldest clients are in their 80s. Women never stop wanting to look and feel beautiful, really feel beautiful. That's what we want to feel beautiful. And so very early on, I, as a mom of 5, and you have already said it, so many, and I hear it a lot, women feeling like, "Oh, I don't spend that money on myself. There's other things we could be doing, whatever." But early on, I realized that this is something that this is not a vanity thing. I remember when I started blogging a long time ago. I blogged for a while and then I took a big break and I've restarted. But early on, thought, you know what? I really want the world to know. I remember feeling this deeply in my soul that this isn't about just women wanting to walk out the door looking beautiful. Like, this comes from a much deeper place. And so my philosophy has always been my appointment times for my initial treatments are 3 to 4 hours long, and I did that intentionally. When women take time for themselves, I don't want my women to feel rushed. I don't want them to feel hurried. I want them to feel like the center of my world for the time that they're with me. And I think that's important that when they come in, we have plenty of time to make sure we're deep diving into their desires and wishes, not just me throwing some makeup on their face. So,
You keep saying women, but I'm sure you've seen men too, because I've noticed even with my husband, love you if you're listening, that he has gotten thinner through here. Where when we were first married, I was plucking a unibrow. So
right?
and now it's not there and it's lighter, the
Yeah.
color, it's very
Honest
different.
Autumn, I have not had one man in my shop.
So if you're listening, be her one man.
Men can suffer with hair loss just as much as women can. You're totally accurate in that. I do think somewhat geographically speaking, men in certain geographical locations may be more ready to raise their hand and go, "Yeah, I want to get my eyebrows fixed." Bigger cities, metropolitan areas, things where maybe that's just more of a thing. But yes, I would be happy to bless men with brows as much as women, but I've only seen women.
Oh, interesting. The person who did my eyebrows had done some men I saw on
Yes.
Instagram after
Yeah.
I had mine done by her. And
Yeah.
then she did not do eyeliner at that time. I think she does now. She referred me to somebody she trained on eyebrows and not the
Okay.
best experience.
Gotcha.
So that was in Frederick. And then now she is in Gettysburg or really close to Gettysburg. Are you in Gettysburg?
I am in Gettysburg.
I know
Yes.
I
Yeah.
drove through the outlets area and everything. I'm like,
I'm in
can I
historic
stop to shop?
downtown.
Yes.
Historic downtown Gettysburg. You said something that's really important, especially because of where we are located. In Maryland and Pennsylvania, this is super important. I share this a lot because it needs to be shared. There are really no regulations. Honestly, none. You don't have to be certified. You don't have to be insured. The health department's not coming into your place. There's nobody checking on anything. It's a highly unregulated industry. So it is important for people to do their background homework. I love questions. When my clients have questions, I welcome every question they have. You should make sure that you are always working with someone who has ample and adequate training, who does have insurance, who is practicing safety standards and sanitization kind of things. Because literally, you could go out right now and start doing what I'm doing.
No, thank
Or
you. I have a needle phobia. So actually the way that things work, if you can see on the camera, I have a tattoo.
yeah,
Yeah. So much easier because I
I
can
never,
garden and be a
yeah,
parent and I don't have to worry about my ring. And every time I wear my ring, the prongs pull out my hair because I'm
okay,
not used to it. And it's that
yeah,
reminder like, oh, yeah, I like my tattoo better.
yeah,
Anyway, I did my eyebrows first because I'm so afraid of needles. And these are both things that I've wanted for years.
yeah.
And it was a lot of searching to find the one who did my eyebrows. So it was just aligned that I found you through our friend.
Yeah.
And I did that and it was an amazing experience. A lot of what is that you put on topically for the pain?
The anesthetic, the topical gel.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was great. They don't do that in tattoo shops in case you're
I
wondering.
know.
Wow, that hurts. And I have so I did my ring tattoo and then I saw you for my eyeliner and in between appointments for the touch up, I had my ankle done. I have yet to do a place that is fatty. I'm pretty sure I'm done with tattoos.
Ouch.
And
I'm
what a
so
difference to have somebody who cares and is making sure that I'm not in pain. And the second that I start having the twitch of pain before I even said anything, you were right there noticing. Huge difference. It's a very clean setting. It's very nice. The parking I found because the time of day we scheduled, I was right in front of your door.
we have great parking. Where in the block that we are downtown, there's always great parking. My clients, which are many that have body art, right? Because tattoos are very popular, they all say the same thing that you say. That really hurt. We do keep our clients comfortable, and women really don't mind. I keep saying women, but that's my experience. My women, they're like, "Yeah, that wasn't bad. It didn't I was really comfortable." So that's a good thing. Yeah.
And you were very aware of, "Okay, you're starting to get stiff, let's rotate you." You even let me get up to drink water and use the bathroom, and I could have eaten. It was all on me, so you're very accommodating. And one thing that I wanna circle back to is my maybe 4th episode ever, I talked with Nancy Richardson about, I think it was intellectual wellness, if I remember right. So many of the dimensions of wellness overlap like a Venn diagram that it's hard to remember, but she talked about learning new things. So I wanted to mention that. I love that you were wanting to do something for yourself. So even if learning about eyeliner is not for you, I wanted to give you a different perspective. And if it is for you, don't stop your search. She's the one for you. But there is so much to be said about learning. And that's what I love about podcasts, which is the reason why I started it. But I'm very much the same way where I will learn something just for myself and think it's so cool that then I have to somehow incorporate that in my business or share it with other people, become the evangelist for that thing that I'm learning. And I love that you're the same way and that you found a way to incorporate these things. I know that you offer more than just permanent eye makeup. You do your daughters do nails. Tell us a little bit more about what you offer.
So in the permanent makeup realm, I do permanent eyebrows. I do 4 different styles of permanent eyebrows. Not everybody is a great candidate for one type or another. A lot of it depends upon just what their current brow situation is and then what their desired outcome is. So we really dive deep into the type of brow that they want and what would work best in their situation. We do 4 styles of permanent brows. We do permanent eyeliner and also permanent lash enhancements, which liners traditionally worn above the eyelashes. The lash line enhancement is a cosmetic tattoo as well, but it's done in the lash line. It's a gorgeous look. A whole
Tickles when it's being done.
Everybody says that. I just had another one yesterday. She's like, "Oh, that tickles." I'm like, "Everybody says that," which is great. They're not in pain. And in fact, our friend that sent you, she laughs. Literally, it tickles her so much.
She was making you laugh.
So the eyelashes grow out of the eyelid like in a little forest, and a lash line enhancement, we just go right in the forest and darken the line. So we do the lash line enhancement, we do the permanent eyeliner, and then we do permanent lip color. I also do offer tattoo removal because sadly, where we are, there are cases where permanent brows have been done elsewhere and they really are beyond anything I can help with other than starting with a removal process to lighten at least enough of the previous work so that we can get an ideal situation. And so I do corrective work also. I am getting ready to start. I'm super excited. This is new. I haven't even talked about it. I'm getting ready to offer inkless stretch mark removal. So that will be targeting stretch marks specifically. And that's going to be a new service. So that's the first anybody's even heard of it. I haven't even shared that yet.
That's amazing.
We do lashes too.
Let's go back to the lips because you and I talked about this. You were saying that as we get older, our lips, the color recesses. So if
Right.
any of you are in that category, can you talk about that and then tell me more about stretch marks? 'Cause
Yeah.
mine was mostly in middle school. It was amazing when I met him after high school, re-met him, and he was sitting down, and I expected him to come to the level I was used to. He kept coming. I was like, "When are you stopping?" And I like tall men. I don't care anymore. I like my husband. But that was like, "Ooh, you got cute."
I love it.
So he has stretch marks. So let's talk about lips, and then let's talk about stretch marks. It's really interesting.
So the permanent lip color is, and this should be said about everything actually. Permanent makeup, let me say it this way. All permanent makeup can look very natural. My style is natural. I mean, everybody has a style, but mine is truly a natural look. Lip color can be supernatural or it can be bolder, it can be somewhere in between. What happens with aging, a lot of times we have a loss of pigment, especially around the borders, and the border of our mouth gets less noticeable, right? So, one that comes to mind, I had a client in her 60s. She had a lot of loss of pigmentation. in her lips. And so her goal, we chose a color. She didn't even want to see anything different about the color. She just wanted the color of her lip to be the color of her lip. So the color that we chose to fill in and reshape where her lips are, but just where they were lacking color because you couldn't see it, it blended perfectly with the rest of her lip. You would have,
It for those on video because when you showed it to me, wow.
yes, I should have thought of that.
Anyway, I can post it somewhere else
Yeah.
for you guys to see. Actually, if you look on my website.com/podcast, click on there in the transcripts of the podcast, we'll make sure to have a picture for you.
Okay, yeah. It was amazing. It looked just like her lip color. So you would have never known that she had permanent lip color. So it can be that natural, but that loss of pigmentation really makes women, they just lose their lips. Not everybody, but it does happen. Other people, it doesn't have to be aging. Sometimes it is just people don't have much pigment color. Some people just love to wear their lipstick, but they don't feel like putting it on every day. So they might something with a little splash of color. But yeah, lips are definitely really great service, and a lot of women feel like I did a doctor's wife who had filler previously. Now it would had when I saw her, there was no filler in her lips, but she knew what it looked like for her to have filler. And after we did her lip color, she's, "Tamara, you know what? I feel like I have filler." She said, "It just gives my lips so much more shape and puts the color back where it was that her lips literally felt fuller to her." I'm not saying it mimics the look of filler, but it is not uncommon for women to feel like their lips are looking larger, right? Because that color does bring them to
That
life.
pop. I'm
Yeah.
sure it definitely looks like it while it's healing or if it's
Oh,
been done.
okay.
I
Okay.
remember I was puffy. Our friend was wow, her eyes were almost closed, but
Pretty
she's a
swollen.
yeah, that's just the way her skin reacts to things. I went to book club.
Ah,
Nobody knew that I had it done that night except for 2 friends that knew I was late to book club
right.
because I was with you and
Lip
lost track of time.
lip color is definitely one of those things you are not hiding that from anybody. You're not going anywhere after you have your lips done, and they're gonna know you had something done to your lips for sure. I always tell women, especially because a lot of ladies be like, "Yeah, I could do this." He is gonna notice your lips when you get home.
How long until you don't notice for those that are hearing and they're like,
I
"Oh,
know the color that is also lip color changes. It's the most color changing. We can choose the client that I told you who had the really natural look, they definitely looked pretty, I wouldn't say bright red, but they were red-ish. The color fresh versus healed, it changes a
I've seen that, it's crazy." Some go on almost orange, and
yeah,
then when it peels off, it's the right color.
yeah,
Crazy.
yeah, when they few days with permanent lip color, you're gonna have a few days of some swelling, like, the first couple of days, we recommend that you use a straw to drink with. Because we've got fresh lip color there. You don't want to be just drinking out of a cup. We recommend that you take your food and kind of cut it up into little bites, put it on a fork and go past your mouth, right? Not be biting down into sandwiches or whatever. But it heals quickly. And now the world is so used to masks that if it really bothers you, just put a mask on and nobody will be.
Okay,
Yeah. Well,
I won't really talk to you. Good on me.
yeah.
With my social, I'm a little more introverted. Nobody really knows that in the business world because the way I show up, but it's about the personal connection, which I really enjoyed with you. And I wanted to talk about this with wellness because this hits so many dimensions. I'm looking at my sticky note and I don't, environmental, maybe we didn't hit on, and financial, but we hit on all the other dimensions because of how much this can impact somebody. And when you think of wellness, sometimes you think about all natural, all of that. There's a place for that. And there are people who 100% they're in that band camp. But then there's like me where I dabble in other things along with that. So I wanted to have this on because really, let's not be an echo chamber. Let's learn about different things. And because of the experience that I had with you and how personable you are and how many different things that you offer. And when I was first scheduling with you, you were figuring out your schedule along with your daughter's who has a nail salon because you were helping her, and I love how family oriented you are in that way, and you are truly a helper, which I really appreciate you being on and me begging you and you saying yes because this has been
I
awesome.
I appreciate you, Autumn. I appreciate the invite. Really, I appreciate the fact that you care. I know because I have your emails. Like I know how much you care about my business too, and it's sweet. I have so many wonderful experiences in my business that have nothing to do with my business truly, when I said that, I mean that. I can't even count. My clients are more like friends. They truly are. We just have such a great connection. And I think that I've never really, of course, I use my social medias, but I'm not out running ads in the world. And I feel like I talk about my faith. My faith is super important to me, but I've prayed about my business. I pray for my clients. I have even prayed with my clients in my studio. And I feel like God has just always sent me he has just sent me the best people. Can't even I'll see things in the permanent makeup world. I'll see people sharing stuff or whatever on their own socials, and I think to myself, I don't even know what you're talking about. That never happens to me. I don't mean to sound like whatever, but I don't have those experiences. I don't have people who don't show up. I don't have those challenges. And I feel like my people find me, and they are not just my people, they're my people too. Like you're my people, right? And we have a great connection. And so I've made so many wonderful friends. They're not just clients, they're friends. And
What's
I
really resonating for me, it goes with the manifestation that we were talking about earlier, but I think it's because you're living in alignment. When we have that alignment within ourselves, which was the whole reason why I decided to really settle on the 8 dimensions of wellness and why it was just like that gong went off when I first heard about it in college. If we are living in alignment, these things come to us so much easier. There isn't that force, there isn't that rolling that boulder up the hill every day feeling.
it's
And
true.
I can see that
Goose
through this conversation.
goosebumps. You can see my hair standing up, but you're right. You are absolutely correct.
And this is what it looks like for you. So, out of this whole conversation, that is my takeaway. And that made all of this time worth it. We had so many other aha moments for me, and I hope each of you did while listening or watching, because when we are living in alignment, we better serve people. We better have our own healing journey. We better have things fall in our lap that are needed before we even know to ask for them, or as we're realizing we need to ask for those things. This conversation has been amazing for me personally, and I hope it has for you guys. And I hope you share it because I love you and I want more people to be in your world.
I
Thank
love
you.
it.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. I am your host, Autumn Carter, a certified life coach dedicated to empowering individuals to rediscover their identity, find balance amidst chaos, strengthen relationships, and pursue their dreams. My goal is to help people thrive in every aspect of their lives. I hope today's discussion inspired you and offered valuable insights. Stay engaged with our wellness community by signing up for my newsletter at wellnessinEverySeason.com/free resources. When you join, you'll have the option to receive a 5-day guide called Awaken and Unwind. 5 days to mastering your mornings and evenings, along with free guides, special offers on my programs, practical tips, personal stories, and much more, all related to wellness, by signing up for both offers on the page. Don't miss out on these valuable resources designed to help you thrive in every area of wellness. Join today and start your journey to wellness in every season. Your shares, subscriptions, and reviews help us reach more people seeking empowerment. So please spread the word about our podcast and about our newsletter. Thank you for being a part of our podcast community. I look forward to continuing our conversation, sharing stories, and exploring wellness in all of its aspects. Take care until our next episode. You can also work with me one-on-one or on demand through one of my programs by visiting wellnessinEverySeason.com/programs. One last thing to cover the show legally, I am a certified life coach giving general advice. So think of this more as a self-help book. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. I am not a licensed therapist, so this podcast shouldn't be taken as a replacement for professional guidance from a doctor or therapist. If you want personal one on one coaching from a certified life and parenting coach, go to my website, wellnessineveryseason.com. That's where you can get personalized coaching from me for you. See you in next week's episode.